Hey guys, welcome back to Curls on Demand. I'm your girl Suprina, and today we're continuing the third episode of our hair routines for naturals, and today we're gonna cover the curly girl method natural, or how I'd like to call them, the vegan naturals. Anyways, let's get into the video. Let's get into some of those hair routine steps that I have for you if you're trying the curly girl method. Now, if you're here because you're on the curly girl method, or if you're here because you're considering the curly girl method, then really let's just talk about the purpose of the curly girl method. So really, the curly girl method is a routine used to help naturals find a way to deal with the hair, or to have more moisture and get away from breakage and drying from the hair. And that's usually what the curly girl routine does, and it goes about that with like removing anything that's drying, like sulfates, adding in more moisture, and taking away products that have alcohols or any chemicals that are bad for your hair, like parabens or mineral oil. The point of the curly girl method is to take those things out of your routine and have you put in things that's more healthier for your hair, so you see more moisture and get away from practices that will break your hair also. So the first step in my natural hair routine for the curly girl method is to shampoo your hair with a sulfate-free shampoo every 2 weeks or every month. Now, there are two things that happens in the curly girl routine. You usually want to stay away from sulfates. If you're staying away from sulfates, then what that means is that your hair will have more moisture because you're not stripping your hair as much as you would if you use the sulfate shampoo. So using a sulfate-free shampoo, a lot of shampoos nowadays are sulfate-free. I have my qualms about that being sulfate-free. We can talk about that in another video, but basically a lot of shampoos now are sulfate-free, so usually you don't have to worry about that. But they are moisturizing shampoos compared to like cleansing shampoos, and so you'd use a cleansing sulfate-free shampoo at least like once a month to get rid of some of that buildup, right? Now, if you're like a vegan natural, or vegan curly girl method type of girl, then you would probably want to stay away from the sulfate-free shampoos and just get rid of chemicals altogether. And you'd either do like an African black soap shampoo, where you can actually buy the liquid form. I know that Melanin Hair Care has a liquid form. Or you'd actually like buy the raw soap, and then you can put it in some water and allow it to dissolve, and there you have it, an African black soap shampoo that you can use in your hair. Or some people go the extra mile because they're vegan and they would go ahead and like make their own DIY shampoo with essential oils. And so that's pretty much up to you where you are on the spectrum. If you're a natural who wants to do the curly girl method and you want like more convenience, then you'd probably go buy a store-bought sulfate-free shampoo. If you're the natural who got the time, then you'd probably do a DIY and make your own. So all up to you on that, but you want to at least like use a clarifying sulfate-free shampoo once a month. Okay, so the next step is to use ACV. And if you don't know what ACV is, it's apple cider vinegar. And you'd use ACV either as a post-poo, meaning after you shampoo, or you'd use it as a co-wash. So I'm gonna just explain that for you a little bit. Just let me geek out just a little bit right now. Just a little bit for you, okay? Okay, so if you don't know, your scalp actually has a more acidic pH, meaning your scalp is between about 4.5 to 5.5 in pH, which says that it's a little more acidic than it is alkaline. And so that's because your hair or your scalp produces something called sebum, and that's like the natural oil that your scalp produces. And the pH of sebum is about 4.5 to 5.5. And the reason why sebum is that pH or more acidic is because what that helps with is not allowing your hair to have a growth or overgrowth of fungi and any type of microbials that are not good. So it really acts as an antimicrobial to not have any bacterial growth, right? Now, what happens is when you use apple cider vinegar has a pH of about 2 to 3. And so when you're not gonna put pure apple cider vinegar on your hair, okay? We're just not gonna do that, okay? You need to dilute the apple cider vinegar, okay? And usually you want to do 1 part apple cider vinegar to like 4 or 5 parts water, and that usually will get you at a pH that's close to that of your scalp. Now, what happens is when you use shampoos on your hair, they're usually more alkaline, and what that causes is it opens up the cuticles. It can lead to more dry hair. And so if you use an ACV that I just talked about, like you dilute it 1 to 4 or 1 to 5 parts, which is closer to the pH, which then becomes closer to the pH of your scalp, what happens is you help close that cuticle, and you can avoid frizz and dryness by using something that's more of the pH of your hair. Now, if you use it after a shampoo, what that does, it resets your hair, or it resets the cuticle, and it allows it like to close again after you've used that alkaline shampoo, because then your hair would be out of balance after using that shampoo, and then using the ACV will bring it back into balance, okay, if you get what I mean. So that's what would happen if you used it as a post-poo, meaning after you shampoo. Now, you can use ACV as a co-wash, and what that means is co-wash really means conditioner wash. But if you're on the curly girl method, yes, you can use a conditioner. But if you're vegan, then you can use ACV as your co-wash, and it will not like completely strip your hair like a shampoo would, but it would actually be good to use it in between your shampoos that you would probably do monthly. So every week you'd probably use a co-wash like ACV on your hair, and then you'll be good to go. So the next step is to deep condition your hair with a silicone-free deep conditioner every week. Now, I will say this in all my videos because deep conditioning is important. But for the curly girl method, or anybody on the curly girl method, that just looks a little bit different. The criteria is that it's silicone free or alcohol free and all the paraben free, mineral oil free. And so there are a few deep conditioners that are store-bought that you can actually get online or in the stores. As I said, store-bought. It did say store-bought. Anyways, so yeah, there are a few commercially available deep conditioners that you can buy in the store, you can get online. 2 that I actually love is the Opulent Hit the Brakes on the Break. Yo, this entire line, Opulent, the entire line is curly girl method friendly. So this is a really good natural deep conditioner. And another one is Old Faithful Shea Moisture, their Jamaican black castor oil. Almost done with this too. But these are 2 options that I have used and that I like and that I would recommend for anybody on the curly girl method, because they meet the curly girl method criteria. Now, if you're a vegan curly girl, then you would probably want a more natural option or a DIY option that you can do. And you can also opt for doing like clays, and that's really good for your hair, especially for like removing bacteria. I like Aztec clay and the kaolin clay. Let's see if I can find this right here. So Aztec clay is a good option for those of you who don't want to buy something that's commercially available. And then I have the kaolin clay. And You put that with some acid cider vinegar, and you slap that on your hair, and boom, that clay is magic. Okay. All right, so deep conditioning with that, or doing your own other DIY deep conditioner with bananas and whatever else that you'd like. I actually have a couple DIY deep conditioners on my channel, so I'll link them somewhere down below so you can check them out. And I do a lot, or I have done a lot of DIY deep conditioners. I just haven't uploaded them. So if that's something you want to see, let me know. Now, once you're done deep conditioning your hair, rinsing that deep conditioner out, you want to make sure that you're drying. That's just an extra tip. You want to make sure that you're drying your hair with a microfiber towel or with a t-shirt. That's only to avoid any tangles or snags or causing any frizz that may happen with a normal towel. And as I said, the curly girl method wants you to embrace less frizz, more moisture, less dryness, more moisture, and anything that will cause your hair to break or snap. Okay, so the next step in the process is to moisturize or style your hair with a silicone, alcohol, paraben, and mineral oil free moisturizer. All of these things need to be out of your curly hair routine diet for your hair. Now, I think doing the curly girl method, sometimes finding a good moisturizer, especially if you have type 4 hair, is usually very hard, because a lot of products that have a lot of moisture and are very thick, they use a lot of chemicals that are not approved by the curly girl method. So I have a few that I like and that I've used, and so I'll show you them. Again, we're gonna have the Opulence, because their products are very much curly girl friendly, and it's called the Groovy Hair Smoothie, and that's their styling cream. And then they also have a leave-in, and the leave-in is called Do the Dew. This is so good. So good. But this is their leave-in conditioner that is also curly girl friendly. And then you can get a lot of the Camille Rose custards and butters are usually curly girl friendly. This one I have here is their moisture butter with green tea and jojoba. They have an aloe one that's really good also, and curly girl method friendly. And then if you wanted to use a gel, Camille Rose, the curl maker, is curly girl friendly. The Design Essentials has a curl forming custard that's curly girl friendly. Kinky Curly has a curling custard that is also really good. It's more like a gel. Oh, I forgot. And of course, the Jamaican castor oil shea butter line is mostly curly girl method friendly. This one is their lock and braid butter, but the leave-in is also really good. I just don't have it anymore because I ran out, and I haven't bought a new one. So, but anyways, I'll put all those things in the link below so that you can check them out. But these are some of the curly girl friendly moisturizers and stylers that you can actually use for your hair. And not because you're on the curly girl method and you're not using sulfates or you're not using harsh chemicals, that doesn't mean that your hair wouldn't get dry. So moisturize, moisturize, moisturize. It's not a joke. It's a real thing. You got curly hair, which means that your hair needs to always be moisturized somehow, some way, okay? Anyways, so now sometimes we put stuff on our hair and it ends up having silicones. It could be by accident. It could be because you're done with the shit and you just wanted to use something that you actually loved, or whatever the case may be. That's okay. You have, and this is a tip right here, you can reset the curly girl method the next week by using a reset shampoo. And you can go ahead and use like a cleansing shampoo, a cleansing sulfate-free shampoo or whatever on your hair to take out that product buildup that would happen from like silicones and parabens and mineral oils if you did use a product that did have those ingredients. Okay, so it's not, don't worry about it. We're not gonna shoot you down because you made a mistake or that you got the wrong product or whatever the case may be. It's your journey, and if you don't tell, we won't know. The next step is to detangle your hair with your fingers. I know this sounds ancient because now we got brushes and combs and all those things. But the point of detangling your hair with your fingers is really to avoid tension and to avoid unneeded breakage. I love using detangling brushes. I love my Felicia Leatherwood, and I have like a bunch of detangling like battle videos on my channel. But I will have to admit to you that doing finger detangling is a lot better in the sense of putting a lot less tension on your hair and a lot less breakage than if you use like a detangling brush. And so the point again of the curly girl method is to avoid unneeded breakage, to make sure that your hair is always moisturized, to give you healthy practices that will actually lead to healthy hair. And so using your fingers to detangle is actually a good way to help with avoiding breakage. Now, a lot of people don't have the finger detangling thing down. Sometimes it can be very frustrating when you just start and you're trying to get that technique down. It's very similar to like if you were detangling with a comb. You want to be very careful on the ends of your hair because it is the oldest part of your hair, so it will break, and it tends to be drier and tangle a lot more than the roots or the newer part of your hair. But so a lot of times the process of like going ahead and like learning how to detangle with your hands can be frustrating at first. Once you get the technique down, it's a lot better. However, you can go ahead and use a wide tooth comb instead of a brush. Even that can be a little less strenuous and would not break or snag or put so much tension in your hair as a brush would, because the brush has more teeth or bristles than the comb would, or the wide tooth comb would. And so that's even a better option. So if you haven't gotten the finger combing down, using a wide tooth comb is a good alternative to using a detangling brush. Don't shoot the messenger. So the next step for after detangling your hair is actually to make sure that you are tucking your ends in. We're gonna go again. Tucking your ends in keeps it from like being exposed and getting dry and snapping. Remember, it is the oldest part of your hair. It is more prone to breakage than any other part of your hair. So tucking your ends in and always keeping it moisturized is really key in any routine, but especially in this routine, which tries to ensure that your hair is well moisturized and you're avoiding breakage at every step of the way. The next step is the step I love the most. I'm kidding, I don't love that step at all, but it's a necessary step and a necessary evil, so we gotta talk about it in every single hair regimen. Trim your ends, sis. I know the critical method does everything possible and gives you like a lot of the steps so that you don't have unhealthy ends, but sometimes dry unhealthy ends is unavoidable. You can do all what you want. It's the oldest part of your hair, and so they need to be cut. Okay, as much as you're moisturizing, you're tucking them in, you're not like putting a lot of tension on them. Listen, your hair needs to be trimmed. Those ends will need to be cut. You'll have split ends, especially like if your ends are like breaking from the ends, or you see that you have split ends, or it's dry and brittle. These are signs that you probably need to trim your ends. And so even though you're practicing the curly girl method, a good practice is always to trim your ends when it's needed. Okay, and because you're treating your ends a lot better with your routine as using the curly girl method, You probably may need to trim it less than you would if you were doing other practices, but point is, when it's needed, you do it. Usually the recommendation is 8 weeks, 8 to 12 weeks, but you can do it every 6 months, or you can do it every 3 months. So whenever you see that it's needed, okay, trim those ends. All right. And then, as I said, I do have a trimming video, a trimming your hair at home video, with different options of how to trim your ends at home, when a trim is needed, blah blah blah, and I'll put that down below also. Now we're going on to the last step, and the last step is very obvious, to be honest with you, for any curly girl ever. Avoid heat. Avoid heat. Now, I flat iron my hair every, like, once or twice every year. So don't do as I do. Do as I say. I'm not practicing the curly girl method right now. And so for me, like, every now and again, I want to switch things up. And so, like, and then for my birthday or like for the holidays, I'll like flat iron my hair. But if you're on the curly girl method, it's a no-no. It's a no-no to put heat in your hair. And the reason why is, one, if you don't have a very good heat or flat ironing regimen or practice, you're probably going to cause heat damage. And then putting heat on your hair actually can cause your hair to become dry, frizzy, brittle, and even cause breakage. So it's very contrary to what the curly girl method promotes. So if you avoid heat, you avoid the likelihood of you having a heat damage, which is not great. You avoid having brittle ends, brittle hair, dry hair, frizzy hair. You avoid all of that, and your curls stay nice and bouncy. Now, if you do have a good routine and you're gonna add heat to your hair no matter what I say, you can go ahead. Just don't say you're on the curly girl method. Okay, I did not. Just don't say it, okay? But if you are strictly on a curly girl method, avoiding heat is one of the key things on this method. Okay, so guys, this is all I have for you today. This is the routine of the curly girl method. And if you are about to try the curly girl method, or you're into the curly girl method, then this is a routine that you could use, that you could tweak, that you could try. And if you do, please let me know. But thank you so much. I'll see you in the next video.